It seems more and more of our interactions are happening online. So here to help families take advantage of the benefits of technology while also being mindful of potential pitfalls, we have Dr. Jim Harris from Marshall University and Dr. Ashley Stevens from Cabell County Schools. Great to see you all.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So we'll start with you, Dr. Stevens. When we know technology, it can be used to the benefit of students, but what are some ways that it is used in the classroom? Because there are some positives.
Absolutely. It allows our kids to have access to everything, everywhere, all the time. And when it's in the hands of our teachers who are bringing in experiences from across the world or different disciplines or hands-on things that we can't create in our classrooms, it's fantastic. And so we're really proud of the way that our students can access technology and their ability to manipulate it far better than we can. They take to these things very quickly, and it's a great learning tool. We see it in our supplementation of our curriculum all over the place. But we also have to be mindful that when it's not being used for learning, it has the potential to be used in other types of ways.
Yeah, so that's what brings us to you, Dr. Harris. Talk about some of the pitfalls to be concerned about, and how teachers and parents can, protect the kids.
Yeah, when I talk to teachers and parents, or just folks in general, about the impact that it can have on young people, I usually break it down to like two key components. And the first one we talk about is experiential deprivation, which sounds like a really complicated thing, but actually we've been talking about it since like radio, TV, video games. It's not, so think of this. If you see a bunch of teenagers sitting on a bench on their phones, it's not, the first step of understanding it is not what they're looking at, it's what they're not doing while they're on their phones. So when I ask people, like, what are they not doing? And that's what we start looking at with experiential deprivation. It's not necessarily always about the content, it's what they're missing out on while they're interacting with the technology instead.
Oh, wow, never thought of it that way. So they're missing maybe some experiences, maybe interactions because they're on the devices.
Yeah, if you think of those four teenagers sitting on the bench looking at their phones, they're not moving, they're not connecting, they're not connecting in person. They might be connecting virtually, but they're not even things like that you need to do as a kid, like make mistakes, take risks, try new things. Those are experience expectant things that help us practice life and learn and grow skills. And if we miss out on those, you can be delayed in your social development by what you missed out on.
Yeah, so what's another area of concern?
That's content impact. That's when we start looking into like specific types of technology and how that technology impacts the functioning neurologically and psychologically. Things like, how does TikTok impact things like focus and attention? How does things like Instagram and Snapchat impact perceptions of beauty and mental health? There's all kinds of things, like where we look at the specific apps or the specific types of technology and how they impact the neurology of a young person.
Yeah, and why do you think that should be a concern for parents or grandparents or caregivers?
Oh, it can absolutely change the structure and functioning of the neurology of a young person, and then in turn then affect their behavior. So you can have things that could increase things like challenges with attention, challenges with mood, depression, anxiety, decreased motivation. So all these things can be products of the overuse, too much of, because too much of a good thing is still too much. It can impact their neurology and mental health. I mean, in this, we're learning more and more.
Right.
Yeah.
So what can we do as families to kind of break the cycle of all that device use?
First is be a good role model. I mean, look first at yourself, kind of thing, and be a model of moderation, and how young people see you interacting with technology. I always say, like, high expectations can't be built on a foundation of hypocrisy. So, if your kids see you on your phone constantly, and the second part I would say to that, first is model your own behavior. Second would be start small and just set time aside where you say, hey, we're not going to interact with technology, we're just going to interact with one another. Expect some resistance, because you're kind of changing the rules of the game. But then understand that kids adapt, and they actually do enjoy that. But start small, work your way up. Don't just start throwing Xboxes in the road and turning and getting rid of all iPads and all that, because
that would not end well.
Extinction burst.
Yes, exactly. I like that, small steps there. So if families are interested in learning more about how to do this and kind of ease into this, any suggestions?
They can check out the work of...
I think the Screenagers work is really interesting right now. There's a lot of information about the Screenagers work. There's some interesting documentaries around the social dilemma, childhood 2.0, and Anna Lemke does a lot of work around dopamine. It's called Dopamine Nation is her book. It's just interesting to learn about. We now are starting to know the neurological impact of some of these things that we're interacting with, and just inform ourselves.
Yeah, and again, start communicating a
Yep.
little more.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, great, Dr. Stevens and Dr. Harris, thanks so much for stopping by and sharing this with us.
Thank you for having us.